whatever you're doing on this lovely and wonderful day. And welcome to another episode in the Soft and System Sides to Sale, where myself and my good friend Jason discuss all the different elements of the sales process. And what most people think of is just, yeah, let's just make some calls and get a sale, Jason. But we know that's not the case. There's so many other activities that need to be done pre and post the service and the actual
Yeah.
process of getting sales. And today, what we want to talk about is one of those after sale processes of when things actually go wrong, Jason, because with the best will in the world, things just do not go right all the time. But how you act, Jason, when something goes wrong will determine the longevity of or the building of a relationship that you have. And especially if it's a brand new client, because Jason,
Yeah,
things don't always go according to plan. And then
absolutely.
if they complain, what happens? So Jason, tell me about your thoughts on what to do when a customer complains, especially if they're a new customer.
That's always the key thing. Number one, do not overpromise.
Mm,
Language here is so very, very important. And I ran a customer service training literally the other week, and you have to be a customer service person. You're a salesperson, but you're also a customer service. So you have to think about them and you have to think about the customer and what they're going through and what you can do to appease them, but also make sure that they're getting value forward and make sure that you will say, I will definitely get back to you. Even honesty and trust and that connection is so important here. Being transparent, don't do the old Boris Johnson as we were discussing earlier
yeah.
and just like deviate from or being a politician. Just be honest with them. I think people appreciate a little bit of honesty there. Say, look, if things are not going right, whatever is technology is not working well, or whatever it might be, the installation didn't go to plan, or they didn't receive the results that they wanted to, just be honest with them and say, look, I will do whatever I can now. Let me see what I can do, and I will get back to you within the hour, within 24 hours, or whatever it might be. Promise that you say you can do, rather than going, look, I might get back to you tomorrow. Is that okay? But that, how does that sound to you? It doesn't really sound
Oh,
really empathetic. It doesn't really sound like you're going to be doing it. You say, look, I will get back to you. I will get back to you by 10 o'clock. I should have an answer for you by then. If I don't, I'm going to do my best to get an answer for you or get a solution for you or get something for you so that you get that commitment there. Like, people respect that. And
mm,
they love the transparency, they love the honesty, but just don't, excuse my French, don't bullshit them, because that's the way that you're going to lose that sale. All that hard work and effort that you put into making and creating that sale and quotations and then going out to the customer and whatever else is lost.
yeah.
So you're gone.
Yeah, and that's the big word, Jason, is credibility, right? And if you think of a salesperson, right, you've done all this work to get the sale. You know how hard it is, Jason, in this world to convince a customer to choose you and not your competitors. That's number one, right? So therefore, you have a hard job, and then you have to make sure, to the best of your ability, things are going to go absolutely according to plan, right? So there's a bit of hand holding that goes on.
Yeah.
But Jason, like with all the best will in the world, there's stuff that's going to happen outside of your control. The supplier may let you down. A part of your business delivery team may let you down. And the thing is, Jason, like, things go wrong. People are human. But to your point, always manage expectations going into the relationship. Don't overpromise and underdeliver. But even when you've done that, things can go wrong. So, like you just said, I have a two-pronged approach first and foremost, right? One is exactly what you said. I say, look, if it's a big problem, I'm gonna say, look, I'm gonna call you in 2 days' time to just so I can do some problem solving with my team, right? And I'm gonna get back to you with an answer, right? Call them
Yep.
in one. Jason. Or even if it's you're saying, I'm going to call you at 4 p.m. then before 4 p.m. the next day, I'm going to call you at 2. Always deliver that message before, preempt, because they will call you, Jason. Don't let that happen. Always call them. Don't leave it to the last minute, right? Because you're just leaving them getting build up this like negative energy inside them if you leave it to the last minute. And sometimes, Jason, you can't get the full solution fixed in that time. So what you go and say is, well, look, we have created a corrective solution, so we're going to be able to continue with service delivery, but we're going to be back to you in 5 days time because we see that there's an inherent problem here. So we're going to work on that so this never happens to you again. And we'll be back to you with a proposed solution in 5 days. Go back to them in 4, Jason. It's just because it's all about exceeding their expectations, even when things go wrong. We talk about exceeding expectations when things go right. You have to do the same when things go wrong. So the happy Pat and the not happy Pat have to exceed expectations, Jason, because that's even, and I'm going to share a story, right? And this is a client that's going back many, many years when I was delivering a process and helping them build a customer service and like when things go wrong process. But the point of you doing this when things go wrong, Jason, they know that you're there for them. They know that you're not just there for their own value, they're there for yours. And that can even strengthen the relationship. And I remember doing a workshop with a client and saying to them, like, when things go wrong, it's still an opportunity to prove who you are and build a relationship and build one on trust, because they see you care about their needs, right? But when I was saying this in the workshop, then one of the operations managers have this great idea to engineer a problem so then he could fix it, and it went very wrong. And I always make the caveat: don't do this as an action. Just always make sure it goes right. But when it does go wrong, don't engineer a go wrong scenario. When it does go wrong, be there for them all the time.
So this is my point, and this is what I always suggest when I'm working with clients: is communication is absolutely key. Things that you don't do is cut them off. Always value the customer. Ask for what they want out of the situation. What do you actually want? What's the best class of scenario that you'd like to have? Work with you so I can do something. I know in the past you had to, when they're local, is drive out there and sort the client out. Just going, well, what can I do? If they're really shouting and screaming, I will do whatever I can to go beyond the expectations. I'm not going to do it every time, because that's not really my job. My job is to value out of customers, but is to manage the customer, especially when you're an SME client. Do what you need to do. Be there for them. The key thing is to get back to them, regardless of whether you got an answer for them or not. The biggest frustration, and something that I did last week, is I emailed 5 of the very top global experts in this field of customer service, because I wanted to get their opinion on this side. The key thing is to listen. That age-old thing of 2 ears, 1 mouth. Listen and understand, even if they're venting. Listen until they stop venting, and then you can actually understand and get back to them. If they email you, make sure that you email them back. Common courtesy, because they're frustrated. Don't leave it a week. Don't leave it a couple of days. Get back to them as quickly as you can. Say, look, I've been trying to get hold of you. What's the best number I can get hold of you on, so I can sort out your challenge that you might have there. Then I can do my very best and resolve it. If not, I will get my manager in, I will get my boss in, I will get someone else in, so we can actually resolve it. So if you can't do it, then you speak to whoever else in the department or the departments, depending on the size of your company, just to get to the bottom of it. Sometimes hopefully it's not all a storm in the teacup, but even if it is, you're there to help them and to support them. 2 ears, 1 mouth. That's true. That's what Juliet has been saying.
Yeah, that's exactly it, Jason. And let me just show some of these comments here. But that's so true. And you've actually said this a few times on our call as well. because it's so important to listen, Jason. Like, people will respect you for listening. They'll know that you care if you listen, and to do that active listening process all the way through. And if you think, Jason, like if you think of what we talk about at the start of the sales process, we love to build a really strong inquiry process. So when we walk away and we're building a proposal, we have all the information we need to build that proposal. The other thing about the complaint, and I see this a lot, Jason, when you're solving a complaint, and a lot of people do the formalities of letter writing and do it through letters, and all of a sudden, when you look at what the complaint is and what the solution letter was, they're two very different scenarios. They didn't actually tackle the customer complaint. So it's very important that you get all that detail that you need to ensure you're solving the right problem. And I see this all the time, Jason. But here's the thing, Jason. That's on the side when you've actually done something wrong, right? But I work with a lot of teams, Jason, where customers will actually complain quite easily, and they could send you on a road rage trying to find stuff for days and days, and then you realize, well, there was no problem in the first place. So it's the reason why I say that, it is so important to actually have a really strong, robust process, because when someone does come in what sounds like a complaint, to do that inquiry process to ensure you're gathering all the information that you need to get the solution or to find the root of that problem so you can get to a solution. Sometimes, Jason, when you actually go that process, they say, you know what, don't worry, forget about it. Because maybe, to your point, it could have been just venting, but you have to make sure you're not going to go down a journey and spend a lot of time on something that doesn't exist. That's why, again, the qualification process, just like in sales, in the sale process, you need a qualification in the actual complaint process as well.
I think you're absolutely right. And again, it's like being a salesperson, you have to ask the right questions to get the right answer. If you don't ask the right question, you hear them venting off, and people do. It's to really ask the right questions so you can get the right answers, so you can get to the source of the problem. Again, when people are annoyed, they get really annoyed, and just let it go. Let it go. Act calmly, act professionally, don't react. The challenge is what we all know: when your flight's cancelled at Ryanair desk or whoever else, the king thing that you do is you shout and scream. But really, you have to holistically understand what's going on the other side as well. It can be a frustration. It can be something like that. But let's have a look at that. And again, your job is to help them, not find excuses, not to give them any other reason to say, I don't want your service. I don't want your service. That you still have to maintain a good professionalism to help them and serve them, to help them to get what they want. And for them to say, hey, Shay was excellent. I really like Shay. Shay was really good. He really helped me in a challenging situation. Look, it was quite minor, but it doesn't really matter. He really helped me. He listened to me, he understood me, and he found a really quick solution. And he did that, and he dealt that. And that's really good for client testimonials. And again, they're the people that are going to share your details on with someone else. That's what we hope to do, because sales is also service as well. It's also value as well. So we have to make sure we have that 360 approach to everything that we do.
Totally. And that's the customer first approach, Jason, because like at the end of the day, as I said, you can turn this into something positive. You always have that choice, but you have to ensure that you follow the process to get to the results. So at the end of it, when the solution has been delivered to the client, that they'll say, you know what, to your point, Jason, things went wrong, but that guy, Jason, he actually went above and beyond to make sure my business didn't suffer. I would highly recommend them. When things go well, they go well. And even when they go wrong, they go well. That's what you want to get out of this process. And that's, again, a great way of solidifying like a developing relationship. And that's the key in anything. Because Jay, everything's about relationships. Things don't always go. We're always going to have different opinions of things. And then we could have miscommunication about what I thought you wanted as opposed to what you actually want. Again, this qualification process, as you say, Juliet, it is so important to know. And because I'll tell you now, Jason, I've reviewed a lot of complaint processes over the years, and I've looked at their solutions, and I've looked at how they delivered the solution, and I looked how the business defended the business to say you were wrong. And that's just encouraging that customer to, one, never do
Yeah.
business with you again. Two,
Yeah.
tell all your friends and your their colleagues that you're a terrible business. So there's no one going to win out of that approach.
No, not at all. That's just that the customer is always right. It's one of the age-old things. The customer is always right. Like, they might be venting, they might be doing something else, but again, it's to appease them, make them calm down. Another thing is to get the details up on the database. If they're calling you, even after the process, so there's some traction in there. So everything into the CRM. So if and as and when they do come back and the emails are in there and all the other details and data is in there, just so you can refer back to it. It's just so important. I know we discussed this CRM before in the past, but especially when you're speaking to a client, I think that's just so very important. And even just so there is a mutual agreement there, if your client is sophisticated enough and you're sophisticated enough, it's always good to record if you can, depending on the size of the organization and whatever. There's a lot of companies out there that do record now, and there's some wonderful technology out there to help you, but it's not always the case, depending on how big or small your industry is or your client actually is.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic, Jason. And I love this call out. It just says LinkedIn user, so I don't know who it is, but it's a really interesting call out. And again, this feeds back into the qualification process to help the customer find out what it is they're complaining about, because their complaint could be very real. They just don't know how to articulate it, right? So it's really important to help them articulate this all the way through, because the more you can articulate and help them with it, the better you can get to a root cause and therefore a solution for them, because it is so important to ensure that this process goes very, very well. And you're welcome, Juliet. This has been
absolutely
great that you can. Sorry, go ahead, Jason.
I think it's so important to stay energized within it, to stay positive. It's your tonality, your personal energy is so good when you actually do speak to the customer that you are energized and you will sort things out. If you just stay a little bit somber and you're a little bit stressed about the situation, in your head you might be stressed, and you probably are, because in your head, hopefully, that you want to do everything that you can to help them and give value forward. It's all about giving value. We're all salespeople, but let's go beyond being salespeople. We are people. We are people skills. The more people skills that we can give and deliver to the other person and empathetically understand it from their point of view, as opposed to our own point of view in our own heads, it's not really about us. It's about the client and it's about the customer. It's about helping them get what they want.
Yeah, absolutely, Jason. And the final thing that I like to talk about is, now that you've met and exceeded their expectations in the complaint process, what are you going to do as a gesture of goodwill to show that we're sorry that this happened and we're proving that we're sorry by doing something? Is it a discount on a future order? Is it an extra added benefit to the order that wasn't paid for? There are other things that you need to do to show that we're genuinely sorry, because there's one thing having that really strong customer experience, or the best possible experience you can with a bad customer journey, right? How can you then do something on top of it and offer a gesture of goodwill, whatever that may be, that will excite? That won't be of much cost to you, but that will make a big difference to your customer. And there's many different examples. And I always say to customers, have at least 20 of these things available so you can call on one. And again, through this qualification process, you'll be able to then define which is the best gesture that you can offer them for this particular situation.
Yeah, I absolutely concur. I think that is really valid and something that is unexpected for them, and go, because they'd be grateful for that. Giving them something, whatever that could be, the smallest thing, doesn't matter. It's that the customer just feel grateful for what you've done and give that added service again. So I think that's wonderful. Look, I think we're up until our witching hour again, and we're hitting our 20 minutes. So what key points are you going to take away and give forward from our conversation today?
Well, what I'm going to say is, you have to make sure the bad customer journey exceeds their expectations as well. The happy path, the good customer journey. So I always say, map this out so when it does go wrong, you're ready to react and act and make sure it's actually a very positive experience for the customer.
Yeah. The thing that I would say, communication. Make sure that you keep the customer knowing what's going on and get back to them their expectations. So that was two things, and I have the sun shining in my eyes.
Yeah, I'm going to complain about you, Jason, for overstepping your mark there, right?
Yeah, I think you should do, actually.
Yeah. Okay, well, look, thanks of all, Jason, for your time as usual. Thanks to everyone to tune in. Lovely to meet you, Emma. And I hope this was of value. And we'll see you next time for another session on the soft and system side to sales. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Now I have to find the